The wind carried the smell of burnt insulation through the empty streets of South Phoenix, mixing with the faint sweetness of pine trees and the metallic bite of something still smoldering. Christmas lights flickered weakly across the block, some charred, some broken, some still defiantly glowing despite the night's chaos. Fire Captain Elias Morgan stepped over a collapsed gutter, boots crunching over shattered ornaments and wet ash. The glow of the engine behind him pulsed red across the ruined front yard, casting long shadows that trembled with each flash of the emergency lights. At his side, Bishop, his 4-year-old German Shepherd K9, moved with slow, deliberate focus. His ears pricked, his body stiffened. His nose traced the air like he was reading something the world had failed to see. The house fire had been declared contained 20 minutes ago. The family had been accounted for. The crowd was dispersing. The crew was already coiling hoses and resetting tools for the ride back to Station 23. This call should have been over, but Bishop disagreed. Elias noticed the shift the way only a handler who'd spent thousands of hours with his dog could. A subtle tension in Bishop's shoulder, a pause too sharp to ignore. A low exhale, not a growl, just a sound the dog made when something didn't match the pattern. Bishop stepped forward, then froze again. The destroyed house was quiet now, save for the soft hiss of cooling timber and the occasional crackle of something collapsing inward. Snow didn't fall in Phoenix, but a thin dusting of white fire suppressant made the lawn look ghostly, like a winter scene gone wrong. Bishop moved again, toward the collapsed living room, toward the wreckage no one else had seen as dangerous, toward something hidden beneath the debris. Elias tightened his gloves and followed. The closer they got, the colder the air seemed to feel. The holiday lights reflected in the shards of broken glass like tiny, trapped stars. Somewhere in the dark, a wind chime, miraculously intact, rang a thin, trembling note. Then Bishop stopped, dead still, head low, body rigid. Elias's pulse ticked upward. "Bishop, what do you have?" The shepherd didn't look back. He didn't move. He only stared into the deepest part of the collapsed structure. And then, a sound, a scrape, a soft one, slow, wrong, human. Someone was in the debris, someone who shouldn't be. Elias raised his flashlight. The beam cut through dust and smoke and twisted metal, and there, between two fallen beams, half hidden in the shadow, a teenage girl was digging with her bare hands. Her fingers were bloody, her hair matted with soot, her breath unsteady, her eyes fixed with desperate, frantic purpose. She didn't look up, she didn't speak, she just kept digging. And that was when Elias realized something chilling. She wasn't trying to escape, she was trying to find something, or someone, on Christmas Eve, in the remains of a home that wasn't hers. And when she finally did look up, just for a second, just enough for the flashlight to catch the shape of her expression, there was no fear, only sorrow and truth, a truth that hurt, the kind that changes a life or ends one. And this was only the beginning. 2 hours earlier, the city had looked different. Christmas Eve in Phoenix always had a strange glow, warm lights strung across palm trees, carolers dressed in sweaters they never actually needed, neighbors exchanging last-minute gifts in driveways, still warm from the day's desert sun. Captain Elias Morgan had been finishing paperwork in his office at Station 23 when the call came in. A single family structure fire, possible electrical cause, unknown occupants. Routine, standard, predictable, at least on paper. But Bishop had been restless all afternoon, pacing, circling, sitting at the window of the captain's office and watching the sunset like he expected something to arrive with it. Normally, he napped before evening calls, but not tonight. Elias didn't question it. Instinct in a dog like Bishop wasn't superstition. It was pattern reading, scent memory, subtle shifts in wind and behavior humans didn't notice. If Bishop sensed a change, there was a reason. They suited up. Bishop hopped into his designated compartment in the engine, paws planted, gaze alert. The crew teased like always. "Your dog's wound up tonight, Cap. Maybe he wants Santa to bring him a new harness. Or he knows your cooking's waiting back at the station and he wants out." Elias smirked but didn't answer. He was watching Bishop. Something was off. By the time they arrived on the scene, flames were already clawing through the roof. The fire was hot, fast, electrical. Christmas decorations had accelerated the burn. The parents, thankfully, were outside, coughing but conscious. The structure was cleared, everyone accounted for. The team worked systematically. 20 minutes later, the fire was under control. The parents were transported as a precaution. The neighbors retreated behind police tape. The crowd thinned. Christmas lights in the yard blinked one by one as the power lines cooled. Routine, standard, predictable. Except Bishop didn't leave the yard. He didn't relax. He didn't release the tension in his shoulders. He kept staring at the house. Something was calling him. And later, Elias would admit, quietly, privately, that something was calling him too. He felt it in the shift of the wind, in the uneasy silence after the fire died, in the way the night suddenly felt colder than a Phoenix winter had any right to be. So he stayed behind as his crew packed up. "Cap, we're rolling out." "Go ahead," Elias said. "We'll catch up." "You sure?" "Yeah, Bishop needs a minute." The crew didn't question it. They'd seen enough of Bishop's instincts to know better. And then the moment came, the subtle pause, the shift in posture, the rigid stance. Elias followed. 10 steps into the wreckage, the world changed. The scent of burnt plastic thickened. Dust floated like slow snowflakes in the flashlight beam. Water dripped from a broken pipe, tapping against metal in irregular beats. Then came the scrape, the movement, the human sound. The girl. She looked around 16, thin, shivering, focused with an intensity that didn't fit her age. Her jeans torn at the knees, her sweatshirt smeared with soot. She didn't flinch when Bishop approached. She didn't run. She didn't ask for help. She looked at Elias for only a heartbeat. And in that brief, fragile second, he saw something no firefighter ever wants to see. She wasn't afraid of the fire. She was afraid of what she might find under the debris. And she had come here alone, on Christmas Eve, to the ruins of someone else's home. Why? What truth was she digging for? What pain was she hiding? And why did Bishop recognize it before any human did? The answers were buried somewhere beneath the ashes, and the night wasn't finished revealing them. Then, in the quiet of the wreckage, Bishop lifted his head and whimpered. A sound Elias had only heard twice in his career. Both times it meant the same thing. There was more beneath the surface, more than anyone was ready for, and the girl knew it. That was why she came, to uncover a truth, one that hurt, one that would drag all three of them into something far heavier than a Christmas Eve fire, something still breathing under the rubble, something waiting. Bishop moved first. The shepherd stepped into the shadowed gap where the roof had collapsed inward, nosing through the edges of the debris with a quiet urgency that tightened Elias's chest. The dog wasn't searching randomly. He was following a clear, invisible path that only he could sense. The girl watched him, her breathing sharp and uneven. She didn't look away from Bishop, not once. Elias noticed. "Hey," he called gently, stepping closer. "You shouldn't be in here. This structure isn't stable." She didn't answer. She didn't even blink. She just kept her hands buried in the soot and splintered drywall, digging like she was racing against time. Bishop paused, lowered his head, sniffed deeper. Then he let out a short, low exhale, half growl, half warning. Elias felt that sound in his spine. "Step back," he said, firmer this time. The girl shook her head. She wasn't being defiant. She was terrified of what stepping back might mean, terrified of what they might find if she stopped. Her voice finally broke through the crackling quiet, barely above a whisper. "Don't move him." Elias froze. The words were wrong. "Move who?" he asked softly. Her fingers dug deeper into the ash. "My brother." The air seemed to stop. The ruins around them creaked under their own weight, metal contracting in the cooling night. A chunk of burned insulation drifted down like grey snow. Somewhere far off, a siren wailed, echoing through the block. But here, inside this collapsed shell of a living room, the world held its breath. Bishop's ears twitched, and then he pressed his nose to a half-buried section of collapsed flooring. Not at random, direct, precise, deliberate. Elias crouched. The beam of his flashlight caught a faint, unnatural shape beneath the broken boards. Fabric, maybe, or something softer. He couldn't tell yet. The dust made it impossible to distinguish colors, but Bishop knew. The shepherd let out a tiny whine and pawed once at the debris, careful, controlled, not frantic, not confused, certain. Elias felt his pulse rise. He looked at the girl. "What's your name?" She hesitated. Her throat bobbed. "Lena." "How old is your brother, Lena?" She swallowed hard. 14. 14, younger than she was, close enough in age that the bond could be fierce, protective, desperate. "Did you see him go inside?" Elias asked calmly. She shook her head violently. No, he wasn't supposed to be here. We weren't supposed to." She broke off, chest tightening, panic folding her inward. "Please don't move him yet, please. I have to." Her voice fractured. And for the first time, Elias saw the truth behind her eyes. Lena wasn't searching for a miracle. She was searching for guilt, looking for proof that she hadn't killed him, or that she had. Something had driven her here in the dark, something heavier than grief, something sharper than fear. Bishop nudged deeper into the rubble. Elias knew what that meant. If there was someone down there, dead or alive, they didn't have much time before the unstable structure shifted again. And the longer Lena stayed in the collapse zone, the greater the danger. He looked at her hands, red, scraped, trembling from cold and shock. "Lena," he said quietly, "let us help your brother." She pulled back like the words had struck her. "You don't understand. Then help me understand." Her breathing stuttered. The wind blew a swirl of ash across the floor. Christmas lights outside flickered again, reflecting off the wet soot like dying stars. Finally, she spoke. "We were supposed to meet someplace else, but he didn't show. He left me a message, said he needed to talk, said he was coming here." She looked at the wreckage as if it were a creature capable of devouring truth. "I thought he was lying." She choked on the last word. It wasn't just fear, it was regret. Deep, marrow-deep regret. Bishop's tail stiffened, not wagging, but pointing, the way he did when he found a scent stronger than the others. He pawed once more, then backed up half a step, looking at Elias with that instinctual communication they had practiced for years. Someone was there, and breathing, faintly, but alive. Elias immediately tapped his radio. "Unit 23 to dispatch. Need EMS back on scene immediately. Possible live victim in the collapse." The radio crackled. "Copy. 23. En route." Lena's eyes widened. No, please. If they move him wrong." Elias crouched beside her, his voice softened to a tone he rarely used. "We'll be careful, but he needs help, and you can't be here. It's not safe." She shook her head again, tears streaking through soot on her cheeks. "I can't leave him. I can't." A sudden crack split the air. A supporting beam groaned, sagging with a deep metallic moan. Dust poured down in a choking cloud. Elias's instincts snapped tight. "Lena, move!" He grabbed her arm and pulled her back just as the beam buckled, slamming down where she'd been digging seconds before. The floor shuddered under the impact, sending tremors through the wreckage. Lena gasped. Bishop jumped backward, nails scraping the tile, then immediately lunged forward again, nose pressed to a new gap the falling beam had created. His ears perked. A soft sound vibrated through the flooring, muffled and faint. A breath, a cough, a moan. Alive. Elias felt the surge of adrenaline. "Lena, he's responding. He's alive." Her knees buckled, and she clapped her hands over her mouth, sobbing into her palms. But it wasn't relief. Not entirely. It was something else. Something darker, twisting beneath the surface. Elias didn't have time to unpack it. He signaled Bishop. The shepherd moved with precision, circling the debris to find the cleanest access point, his nose low, breath quickening with purpose. Elias leaned in, shining his flashlight through the narrow opening, and then he saw it. A fragment of a shoe, a piece of denim, a pale, shaking hand reaching weakly toward the light. The boy was pinned beneath a collapsed floor section, breathing but fading. Elias steadied himself and turned to Lena. "Lena, I need you to stay behind me. Don't move forward." Her face twisted. "No, you don't understand. He can't. I shouldn't have." Her voice broke again, dissolving into desperate, tangled words he couldn't yet piece together. But he would, soon, because there was something in her eyes, something she was terrified to say out loud before she knew if her brother would survive to hear it. Footsteps rushed toward them as the returning EMS team entered the structure with backboards and extraction tools. One of them shouted, "Cap, what do you have?" Elias answered without taking his eyes off Lena or Bishop. "A live victim under a collapsed load-bearing point. We need to lift this without shifting the beam." "Bishop's marking the safest access path. Follow his lead." The paramedics nodded. They trusted the K9 team implicitly. Bishop stepped back, looked at Elias, and gave a single, sharp bark. "Ready." Elias turned to Lena. "We're going to get him out." Her tears fell harder. "But when you do," she whispered, "he's going to tell you what happened." Elias frowned. "And what is that?" Lena closed her eyes, shoulders shaking. "That this wasn't an accident." The words hit the air like cold metal. The paramedics froze. Elias stared at her. "And Bishop Bishop leaned in again toward the shattered floor, nose tracing the faintest thread of scent, and suddenly stiffened, not in fear, not in confusion, in recognition of what? Elias didn't know yet, but Bishop did, and whatever he sensed. It wasn't just survival, it was something else, something the fire hid, something the girl feared, something the boy, beneath the broken floor, might wake up and reveal. A truth so heavy it made Lena tremble, a truth that hurt, and they were seconds away from uncovering it. They worked fast. Under Elias's direction, the team moved like a single organism, muscle and training and instinct woven together. One firefighter stabilized the beam with a pneumatic shore, another slid wedges beneath the fractured flooring. A paramedic prepped the backboard, monitoring the narrow gap where the boy's hand still twitched weakly. Bishop stood just outside the collapse zone, eyes fixed, breath shallow, as if he understood that one wrong move could turn survival into recovery, or recovery into a body retrieval. Lena knelt where Elias had left her, just at the edge of the safe zone. Her hands shook so violently she had to grip her own knees to stop them. Soot smeared across her palms like ink. "On my count," Elias said, voice steady, eyes never leaving the makeshift system of supports. "We lift an inch, assess, then another. No sudden moves, no shifts." He looked at Bishop. The shepherd stared back, unwavering. 3, 2, 1. They lifted. The beam groaned, metal straining under the controlled force. Dust rained. The broken floor plate rose just enough for a paramedic to snake an arm through the gap. "I've got his shoulder." Checking pulse. A beat of silence. Then, weak but present. "He's breathing shallow. We need this open now." "Inches," Elias warned. "Not heroics." They adjusted, lifted another fraction, stabilized. The paramedic slid further in, fingers probing for entrapment. "He's pinned at the hip, left leg trapped under debris. I can't see the full extent from here." Elias shifted his weight, feeling the structure's complaints through his boots. "Bishop," he said quietly. "Back." The shepherd obeyed, retreating a few extra steps, but he didn't take his eyes off the boy. "Cap," one of the firefighters called. "We can cut through here and relieve the pressure without dropping the load." "Do it." The saw bit into the ruined floor, screaming in protest as sparks spat into the night. Lena flinched at the sound, every muscle in her body tightening as if the blade were running through her nerves instead of wood and metal. She whispered to herself, barely audible under the machinery, "This is my fault. This is my fault." Elias heard it. He didn't respond. Not yet. There would be time for questions later. For now there was only the boy and the physics of broken structures. They cut, they lifted, they braced. And then, finally, the paramedic's voice rose with something like relief. "Okay, I've got him free. We're pulling him out." A pair of hands guided the boy's limp form through the narrow opening. He was pale beneath the soot, lips tinged blue, eyes half-lidded. His sweatshirt was torn. A faded graphic of some band Elias didn't recognize nearly shredded away. One shoe was missing. Lena saw his face. Whatever fragile composure she had left, shattered. "Zach!" She lurched forward before anyone could stop her, dropping to her knees beside the backboard as they laid him down. She grabbed his hand with both of hers, like if she held tight enough she could anchor him to the world. His eyelids fluttered. "Keep him flat," the paramedic ordered. "Possible spinal involvement. Stabilize the neck." They fitted a collar, strapped him to the board, started oxygen. One medic called out readings. Another prepared an IV. Zach's chest rose in shallow, irregular breaths. Lena leaned closer, tears dripping from her chin onto the edge of the board. "It's Lena," she whispered. I'm here, okay?" His eyes didn't focus, but his lips moved. A single syllable ghosted out. "Why?" She recoiled as if struck. Her fingers loosened on his hand. Elias's head snapped around. What did he say? Lena shook her head quickly, too quickly. "Nothing, he's confused." But guilt rolled off her like heat. Zach's eyes drifted shut again as the paramedics lifted the board and started toward the exit. Elias stepped aside to clear a path. "Go, we'll secure the scene and follow." They carried Zach through the skeleton of the house, Bishop trotting silently alongside, nose occasionally brushing the boy's dangling fingers as if memorizing his scent for later. Lena tried to follow, but Elias gently blocked her with an outstretched arm. "You're riding with them," he said. "Your family." Her gaze flickered, panic sharpening. No, I can't." "Lena, your brother needs you. You can answer questions on the way. Right now he needs someone he knows with him." She looked at the ambulance, at the red pulse of lights reflecting off the wet pavement, at Zach's motionless form inside. Her jaw clenched. "I'll go in the next one," she said hoarsely. "I'll follow in a squad car or something. Just let him go now." Elias studied her. This wasn't how siblings usually reacted. He'd seen shock. He'd seen denial. He'd seen hysterical refusal to leave a loved one's side. But this mixture of desperate concern and terrified distance was different. "Lena," he said quietly, "what are you afraid of?" Her eyes flicked up to his, wide and glassy. "If he wakes up," she whispered, "he's going to tell you what I did." The admission hung between them, thin and fragile as glass. Before Elias could answer, the ambulance doors slammed shut. The engine revved. Tires hissed against wet asphalt as it pulled away, carving twin rivers of light into the night. Lena watched it go. Bishop whined once, softly. They stood in the dead yard of a burned-out house on Christmas Eve, the last of the crowd finally having drifted away. The quiet that followed wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, accusatory. Elias exhaled slowly. "Come with me," he said. "We'll get you checked out too. You inhaled a lot of smoke." "I'm fine," she shot back too fast. He didn't argue. "You might feel fine now. That doesn't mean anything. You were in a collapse zone with active embers. If I write in my report that you refused evaluation, it's going to raise questions." Her eyes darted around the ruins. The charred entryway, the half-melted plastic toys visible through a broken window, the blackened archway that used to be a family photo wall. "This wasn't even our house," she muttered. Elias's brows lifted slightly. "Whose was it?" She hesitated. "The Markleys, family from our neighborhood. They left town 3 days ago, visiting grandparents. Their Christmas tree was still up, though." Her voice trailed off. Elias scanned the interior from where he stood. The tree, or what remained of it, was a twisted metal spine in the corner of the living room, its branches burned to a skeletal frame. Charred tinsel dripped from it like vines. "Then why was your brother here?" he asked gently. "Why were you?" Lena's shoulders hunched. "Because he wanted to prove something, and I told him he couldn't." "What was he trying to prove?" She pressed her lips together until the color drained from them. "That I was wrong," she said finally. "Wrong about the fire." Elias felt a small, cold weight settle in his gut. "You knew this place was at risk?" Bishop paced a small circle at his side, restless. Lena's eyes flashed. "I didn't know it would burn down. I'm not a firefighter." "No," Elias said. "But you came here at night on Christmas Eve alone, to dig through a collapsed living room with your bare hands. That's beyond worry. That's something else." Her chest rose and fell faster. "I told my mom 3 days ago," she blurted. "She didn't believe me, said I was overreacting, said if I was so worried I should tell Mr. Markley myself, but they were already leaving for the airport, so she told me to let it go." "What did you tell her?" Elias asked. "That their outlet was sparking." Her hands twisted in the hem of her sweatshirt. "Behind the TV. I saw it when we were there dropping off some cookies. I heard the buzz, saw a little blue flash. It smelled like plastic burning. Mr. Markley said it was nothing. That older houses do that sometimes." My mom laughed it off. Her throat worked. "But I couldn't stop thinking about it. I kept seeing it in my head, imagining it. I know that doesn't mean it was going to catch fire, but sometimes it does," Elias said quietly. Her eyes snapped to his. "The Markleys asked my brother to feed their cat while they were gone. He had the key, they trusted him. I told him not to go if he saw the outlet spark again. I told him to leave, to call someone. He said I was being dramatic. He said I didn't understand anything about electricity. We fought." She swallowed hard. "Tonight," he texted me, "going over there. If you're right, we should tell someone. If you're wrong, you owe me an apology." She stared at the ruin, voice cracking. "He wanted to prove I was wrong." "And you came after him?" Elias asked. She shook her head slowly. "No. I told him I wasn't playing his game. I put my phone down. I tried to ignore it. My mom kept talking about Christmas dinner tomorrow. My stepdad was watching some game. I just sat there pretending everything was normal, but it felt like my skin didn't fit." She dug her nails into her palms. "An hour passed. He didn't text again, didn't come home. And then I smelled it." Elias stayed silent. She looked at him, eyes wide, haunted. "From our backyard. We live 4 blocks from here. The wind must have been right. I stepped outside and it smelled like burnt plastic, like that outlet. I ran. I didn't tell anyone, I just ran." "And when you got here?" Elias asked softly. She laughed once, sharp, bitter. "There were flames already, people in the street, your rigs, hoses everywhere. Neighbors telling each other the Markleys were out of town. Someone said at least nobody's inside. Her voice trembled. But I knew my brother might be, because he always has to be right, and I always have to be wrong. She looked at her raw, scraped hands. So I waited. I watched. I told myself if you pulled him out, it would be fine. That maybe he'd already gone home, that maybe I was panicking about nothing. And when we didn't? Elias asked. Her eyes filled again. When the fire was out and people started leaving and no one said anything about a teenage boy inside, she inhaled sharply. I figured one of two things was true. Either I'd imagined everything, or he was still in there. She glanced at Bishop. And your dog told me which one it was. Silence settled over them, heavy and intimate. Elias looked down at Bishop, who met his gaze with an unreadable canine seriousness. You didn't cause that outlet to fail, Elias said carefully. You noticed something real. You tried to tell an adult, that matters. But I didn't tell the right people, she whispered. I didn't tell someone like you. I told my mum, and when she brushed it off, I let it go. I let it go until tonight. Lena, Elias said, his tone grounded. There's a difference between starting a fire and failing to stop one alone. What you were carrying tonight, that's more weight than most adults would recognize, much less hold. You are not the match. She shook her head, tears spilling over. Zach wouldn't have been here if I hadn't said anything. He wouldn't have come to prove me wrong. He wouldn't be under your dog's nose on a backboard right now. That's my truth. I can't change it. Bishop walked closer, pressing his flank against her leg. Startled, she looked down. He leaned into her, steady, warm, grounding. His fur was damp from the suppressant mist, faintly smelling of smoke and metal, and something comforting beneath it, like worn leather and sun. Lena's hand hovered uncertainly over his head. Then she gave in and rested her fingers between his ears. He didn't move away. The contact loosened something in her. She sobbed once, hard. Elias let the moment stretch, the quiet filled only by distant sirens and the crackle of cooling debris. Then his radio chirped. Unit 23, this is Mercy General ER. Do you copy? Elias pressed the mic on his shoulder. Go ahead, Mercy. Your collapse rescue, 14-year-old male. He's here. Stable for now. We're running scans. He was asking for his sister before he went fully under anesthesia. Lena's head snapped up. Elias's gaze sharpened. He's talking, he asked. Yeah, briefly. Said her name. Said something about it being his fault, not hers. We'll let you know when we have more. Static, then silence. Lena stared at him. What did he say? She breathed. That he thinks it's his fault, Elias answered. Her mouth fell open. But it's not. It's... She stopped. The word hung there, unfinished. Mine. Elias's mind worked quickly, fitting new information into the fragile mental map of the night. A sparking outlet. A boy with a key. A girl who noticed the danger. An empty house. A fire that started anyway. Cause. Effect. Guilt. Truth. He looked at Lena. You said your brother always needed to be right, he said slowly. If he came here tonight, and the outlet did cause the fire, it means you were right. Her shoulders sagged as if the words themselves had weight. I don't want to be right about this, she whispered. Bishop nudged her hand again, insistent. Elias exhaled. Come on, he said quietly. We're going to the hospital. She recoiled, reflexive. I told you. I know what you told me, he interrupted gently. But your brother is asking for you. You carry a piece of tonight he doesn't, and he carries a piece you don't. If either of you carries it alone, it's going to break you. He gestured toward the street, where a spare squad car idled, waiting for orders. We can argue about fault all night, or we can go listen to what he has to say. Lena looked at the ruined house one last time, at the tree trunk of metal, at the shattered windows, at the blackened door. Her truth was still there, tangled in the wreckage. But another truth waited at Mercy General. She wiped her face with the back of her wrist, leaving a dark streak of ash across her cheek like war paint. Okay, she whispered. Let's go. Bishop stepped forward as if he'd been waiting for the decision. He walked beside her to the street, matching her pace, occasionally brushing against her leg like a moving handrail. Elias followed, casting one last look back at the burned-out home. He memorized the layout, the points of origin, the patterns on the walls. He knew he'd be back. For the investigation, for the report, for the paperwork that turned human chaos into boxes and codes, and explanations that couldn't possibly hold the weight of what had really happened. As they reached the car, Lena hesitated again. Captain, she asked quietly. Yes? When he wakes up, and you ask him what happened, and he tells you his version, she swallowed. Will you believe him? Elias met her gaze. I'll listen to both of you, he said. I don't think tonight belongs to just one truth. She blinked hard. Her lips trembled. Then she slid into the back seat. Bishop hopped up beside her without being told, curling onto the floor and resting his head against her shin. She didn't push him away. The car door shut. The engine turned over, and as they pulled away from the ruined house, the last of the Christmas lights on the eaves sputtered and went dark. They reached Mercy General a few minutes after the ambulance. Christmas Eve had softened the hospital's usual chaos. The lobby lights glowed warm against garlands taped along the reception counters. Nurses moved with a gentler urgency than the weekday rush. A plastic nativity scene flickered in one corner, its bulbs humming faintly against the cold tile floor. But in Trauma Bay 3 there was no softness, only fluorescent light, only monitors beeping, only the sterile smell of antiseptic layered over smoke and sweat and panic. The paramedic who had ridden with Zach met them at the doorway. He's stable, she whispered, glancing toward Lena with a softness she didn't show on scene. He's sedated for imaging. They're checking his leg and spine. He keeps drifting in and out. Lena tried to step past her but froze when she glimpsed Zach through the curtain. He looked small, too small for 14. His hair was singed at the ends. His hands were scraped raw. His face was a patchwork of soot and pale skin. Tubes and lines ran across his chest like fragile lifelines. Her breath hitched. Elias watched her carefully. Go, he said quietly. She didn't move. Her eyes stayed locked on Zach, the way someone watches a cliff edge, with longing and fear in equal measure. Lena, go to him. She swallowed hard, then took a step. Inside the bay, Bishop circled once, then lay near the foot of the bed, close enough to watch, far enough not to get in the staff's way. His ears were forward, alert. Lena approached her brother's bedside like she was approaching something sacred and dangerous. When her fingers brushed his, Zach's eyelids fluttered. He drifted upward from sedation, like someone surfacing through cold water. Lena, his voice was a faint rasp. She leaned close. Yeah, she whispered. I'm here. He blinked slowly, trying to focus. And then, did they find... His breath hitched painfully. Did they find anyone else? Lena stilled. Else? He nodded weakly. The cat. Mr. Markley's cat. I heard him crying. I tried to... A tremor shook him. The monitor beeped faster. Elias stepped closer, his voice calm and grounding. Zach, focus on breathing. In through your nose. Slow. Zach's breath steadied. Was the cat... His voice trailed, shame rising behind his eyes. I wanted to get him out, but when the floor went, I couldn't... I'm sorry. Lena's face crumpled. You went in for the cat. You didn't tell me that. Zach closed his eyes. I told you I was going to check the outlet. Then I heard something from the hallway, scratching, crying, so I followed it. I didn't mean to go far. I thought I had time. He swallowed, dry and painful. It smelled bad. Like when you told me. Like the plastic burning. You were right, I should have listened, I'm sorry. Lena pressed both hands to her face, the sob breaking free before she could stop it. No, Zach, I should have gone with you. I should have told someone who would listen. I shouldn't have just... Stop, he breathed. It's not your fault. Her shoulders shook. You went into a burning house, Zach. He opened his eyes again, barely. I thought if I proved you were wrong, then you'd believe me about other stuff. What other stuff? She whispered. He blinked heavily. That Mom doesn't always hear you the way she should. That sometimes she makes you feel crazy, even when you're not. Lena's breath caught. Elias felt the air shift, like someone had pulled the tension out of the room just long enough to expose something deeper, more fragile. Zach kept talking, slower now, drifting. You notice things. You always have. The flicker in the lights, the smell in the kitchen, the sound under the floor. You see stuff before it breaks. A breath. I wanted to show you I could see things too. He coughed softly. I messed up. Lena shook her head violently. No, I did. I should have come after you sooner. Zach stared at the ceiling, eyes glassy. I went to leave when I heard the beam crack, but the floor gave out. I grabbed the cat, but he scratched me and ran. He tried to lift his hand to show the bandage on his forearm. He winced. I'm sorry about the outlet. I really thought it was nothing. I should have believed you. Lena grabbed his hand again, tears dripping onto his wrist. Zach, she whispered, I need to tell you something too. He blinked slowly. I didn't come for you right away. I didn't check the street. I tried to pretend everything was normal because I didn't want Mom to say I was making drama again. Zach's gaze softened. I know. How? She breathed. Because I do the same thing, he murmured, when she makes me feel like I'm overreacting. Silence. Hot, sharp, devastating. Elias stepped back to give them space. He watched Bishop lift his head, ears angling toward the siblings, like he understood the emotional shift in the room. Then Zach's voice dropped to a whisper, barely audible under the monitors. But I did believe you. When I smelled it again in the hallway, I thought I could fix it. He closed his eyes, fighting another wave of exhaustion. Trying to fix stuff you're not trained for, it's dumb. You were right. Lena leaned closer. No, you were trying to protect someone's home and their cat. That's not dumb. He gave her a tiny, drowsy smile. You came for me. She broke completely at that. Of course I did. He drifted again. The nurse stepped in, checking vitals. He's stable, she said softly. He needs rest. You can stay, but keep voices low. Lena nodded numbly, wiping her face. But as Zach slipped under again, his fingers twitched in her grip. Don't leave, he whispered. Her breath hitched. I won't. She threaded her fingers through his and sat down beside the bed, shoulders folding inward. For the first time since Elias had met her, she wasn't shaking. She wasn't running. She wasn't hiding behind guilt. She was still present, human. When the nurse left, Elias stepped closer to Lena. Lena, he said gently, there's something you need to understand. What happened tonight, this fire, it was caused by something that had already started before either of you walked in. She stared at him, dazed. The outlet, he nodded. The burn pattern on the wall matched an electrical fault. Slow, smoldering heat behind the drywall. It may have been going for hours before flames broke out. Her jaw slackened. So even if we'd both stayed home, even if I'd never said anything, it still would have happened, Elias said firmly. This wasn't yours to prevent alone. Tears welled again, but softer this time. Not sharp with guilt, heavy with relief. She whispered, I didn't cause it. No. Her chin trembled, but we didn't stop it either. Elias shook his head. You're 16, Lena. You aren't responsible for fire safety in your neighborhood. Adults should have listened. That's on them, not you, she cried silently, shoulders shaking as she pressed a hand over her mouth. Bishop stood, walked to her side, and gently rested his head on her knee. She stroked his fur, grounding herself. You saved him, Elias said softly. Your instincts did. No, she murmured. Your dog did. Bishop finds people, Elias corrected. But he followed you. You led us to the right place. Don't dismiss that. Her eyes met his, red, swollen, but fierce under the exhaustion. For the first time, she believed him. The sliding doors to the ER opened sharply. A woman rushed in, hair frizzed from the cold, face blotched with fear. A man followed, gripping his car keys like they were the only thing keeping him upright. Zach, where is he? Is he alive? Oh God. Lena, what happened? The questions collided in the air. Lena stiffened. Her eyes darted to Elias, then back to the approaching figures. Her mother's voice cracked. Why didn't you call us? Lena, we've been driving around. Your phone went straight to voicemail. Where were you? Lena's breath left her. She shrank, folded. Bishop growled, low, barely perceptible, but Elias understood the message. He stepped in front of Lena without hesitation. Ma'am, he said calmly, your daughter and son were in a fire. They're safe now. They did everything they could. The mother blinked rapidly. A fire? What were they doing there? Lena flinched again. Elias's tone softened but stayed firm. They were trying to prevent something they didn't have the tools or authority to stop. Both of them acted with more courage than most adults do. The mother stared at him, overwhelmed. But why? Lena inhaled shakily. She stepped forward. I told you about the outlet, she whispered. Her mother froze. I told you it was sparking, Lena continued, voice trembling. You said it was nothing. You told me to let it go. The woman's face crumpled. I didn't think... That's the problem, Lena said softly. None of us thought. Until Zach was inside. Her mother's knees buckled. The father caught her shoulders. Tears spilled freely down her face. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I didn't listen. I should have. Oh God, Lena, I'm so sorry. Lena didn't know what to do with the apology. She looked at Zach, peaceful, sedated, breathing steadily. She looked at her mother, desperate, remorseful. Then she looked at Bishop, who drew closer, his warm weight against her leg. And for the first time, she didn't feel alone inside her own truth. The family gathered around Zach's bed. The father took his son's hand. The mother whispered something through tears. Lena stood on the opposite side, Bishop beside her like a silent sentinel. Elias stepped back, giving them space. But he didn't leave. Not yet. There was a final piece of truth waiting. One only Zach could speak when he woke again. A truth that would bring closure, not blame. And when it came, it would hurt. But it would also heal. Because that's what real truth does. It was past midnight when Zach stirred again. The monitors hummed. The hospital corridor outside had quieted to a soft, distant rhythm. Nurses whispered. Christmas lights twinkled faintly along the baseboards, like tiny reminders of a world still turning. Inside Trauma Bay 3, the family sat in tired silence. Lena on the left, her mother and stepfather on the right. Bishop curled on the floor, alert but calm, his head resting on Lena's shoe. Elias stood near the doorway, arms folded loosely, giving them privacy while staying close enough to witness the final piece of truth begin to surface. Zach's breathing changed first, a deeper inhale, a slower exhale. His eyes opened, not sharply, not in fear, just open. The room froze with him. "Hey, buddy," his stepfather whispered, leaning forward. "You're okay. You're safe." Zach blinked, gaze drifting until it found Lena. She froze. "Hey," she whispered. "I'm right here." Zach worked his throat. His voice was weak, but steady enough to carry something important. "I need to tell you something." Everyone leaned closer, but Zach only looked at her. "Lena, you were right about the outlet." A tear slipped down her cheek. "But that's not the whole thing," he added. Elias straightened. Zach swallowed painfully. "It wasn't the cat I followed." Lena's stomach knotted. "What do you mean?" she whispered. Zach's eyes drifted to the far wall, toward a place only he could see. A memory, still raw. "When I came in, the hallway smelled like burnt plastic. I wanted to check the outlet like you said. But when I turned the corner, the power strip behind the TV was sparking too, worse than the outlet." Lena's mother covered her mouth. Zach continued, voice trembling. "I unplugged it. Or, I tried. But the plug was melted to the socket. I thought, maybe if I knocked it loose, it would stop." Lena's heart stopped for a beat. "What did you do, Zach?" she whispered. He blinked slowly. "I hit it with the heel of my hand. Hard. It came loose, but it sent sparks into the wall. They landed on the dry needles under the tree." Lena felt the world tilt. "And the fire started," Zach whispered. "Right after. I tried to stomp it out. I really did. But when I went to grab water, the whole wall lit up." He didn't cry. Not yet. But the shame in his voice shook the air. "And I didn't tell you," he added, turning his eyes back to her. "I didn't want you to know I caused it, not after you warned me." Lena's breath broke in her chest. Her mother sobbed softly. Elias stepped closer, tone gentle. "Zach, you didn't cause the fire intentionally. The electrical fault was already there. That wall was primed to ignite. You knocking the plug loose didn't create the danger. It revealed what was already happening behind the drywall." Zach stared at him, hope and doubt twisting together. "You need to hear this," Elias said, calm, unwavering. "That fire was coming no matter what. A slow burn electrical fault doesn't wait for permission. It was going to flare tonight, tomorrow, whenever the heat hit the right point." Zach's eyes flicked toward Lena again. "But I didn't listen to you," he whispered. Lena shook her head fiercely. "And I didn't come with you when you asked," she said. "We both made choices. We both got scared. We both thought we were alone." Silence. Then, Bishop stood up. He walked to Zach's bedside, placed his paws gently on the edge of the mattress, lowered his head until his chin rested near Zach's arm. The boy let out a tiny exhale, a sound pulled from somewhere deep and fragile. "I thought I was going to die in there," he whispered. "But then I heard something, a scrape, a sniffing sound. I thought I was imagining it." He reached out, fingers brushing Bishop's fur. "But it was you," he murmured. "You found me." Bishop closed his eyes, leaning into the touch. Lena wiped her face, voice breaking into a smile for the first time that night. "He always finds people who feel lost." Zach's mother leaned into her husband, tears spilling freely. Elias let the moment breathe, deep, slow, healing. Then he spoke softly. "Zach, you mentioned earlier that you came in to check the outlet because you believed your sister. That matters." Zach's lips twitched upward, exhausted but warm. "You notice things before they break," he echoed, repeating his earlier words to Lena. Lena sniffed. "You tried to fix it," she said. Zach swallowed. "You tried to warn me." Their hands met across the bed rail, not in guilt, in recognition. They weren't enemies in this truth. They were partners in surviving it. A doctor entered with final scans. "Good news," she said gently. "Zach has no spinal fracture, some internal bruising. He'll need rest, physical therapy, but he's going to recover fully." The room exhaled, every person inside collapsing into relief. Lena covered her face, shoulders shaking. Her mother hugged her from behind, whispering apologies into her hair. Soft, broken, real. Elias stepped aside to give the family space. His radio crackled quietly in the doorway. "Unit 23, command wants your preliminary report when you return." He clicked the mic lightly. "Copy." But he didn't leave yet. He waited, because the night wasn't finished. Not until Lena and Zach crossed the invisible line between guilt and truth. Not until they saw what Bishop had sensed from the beginning. They were carrying the same weight from opposite sides of the fire. A nurse entered with fresh linens, and as she worked, she said gently, "You two saved each other tonight." Lena blinked. "We didn't do anything." The nurse smiled softly. "Most victims don't get found this quickly. Most siblings don't come running into danger at night. Most kids don't listen to their instincts when adults dismiss them." Her gaze shifted between them. "You did." Lena held Zach's hand tighter. Zach squeezed back, and something inside both of them finally unclenched. When the room fell quiet again, Elias approached. "Lena," he said softly, "I'm adding something to the report you need to hear." She looked up, wary but listening. "I'm writing that the fire originated from an electrical failure behind the wall. I'm writing that your brother attempted to rescue a pet and was caught in the collapse. And I'm writing that you noticed the risk before anyone else did." Her eyes filled again. "But I didn't stop it. You aren't responsible for what adults ignore," Elias said gently. "Responsibility and fault are not the same thing." Zach nodded, voice faint. "She saved me," he whispered. Lena shook her head. "No, Bishop did." Elias smiled. "Bishop follows instinct, but tonight, your instinct is what led us to him." Bishop's ears perked at his name, tail thumping once, slow and steady. "So you listen to the part of the world most people tune out," Elias added. "That's not a flaw, Lena, that's a gift." Her breath hitched. No one had ever said that to her, not once, not ever. It was nearly 3 a.m. when Elias finally walked Lena out to the lobby for fresh air. Bishop trotted beside her, nudging her elbow now and then like a steadying hand. The desert night was still, cold, but gentle, the kind of cold that wakes you without hurting. They sat on a bench beneath the dim glow of the emergency entrance lights. Lena stared at her scraped hands, so different from the trembling ones that had dug through ash not long ago. "I thought the truth was going to destroy everything," she whispered. Elias nodded. "Truth hurts," he said softly, "but the right truth heals." She let out a long breath. "Will I ever stop feeling guilty?" "Yes," Elias said, "but not because someone tells you to stop, because you'll learn to carry the part that's yours and set down the part that isn't." She nodded slowly. Bishop jumped onto the bench beside her. She leaned into him, eyes closing. "He's a good dog," she said quietly. "He's the best partner I've ever had," Elias replied. "Do you think," she hesitated, "do you think he knew? About Zach? About me?" Elias watched Bishop rest his head on her shoulder, completely content. "Yes," Elias said. "I think he knew exactly what was buried under that house tonight. Not just your brother." Lena swallowed hard. "What else?" "Your fear," Elias said softly. "Your truth, and the part of you that wasn't ready to face it alone." A tear slipped down her cheek, but this one wasn't sharp. It was soft, healing. "I'm glad he found us," she whispered. Elias nodded. "He always does." The hospital doors hissed open behind them. A nurse stepped out with a gentle smile. "He's asking for you again," she said. Lena stood. Bishop hopped down. When Lena turned back toward Elias, her face was different, not free of guilt, not untouched by the night, but anchored, braver, more whole. "Thank you," she whispered. "You did the hard part," Elias said. She shook her head slightly. "I think we both did." And with Bishop walking beside her, a steady shadow, a quiet guardian, she stepped back into the hospital to face the truth that no longer needed to hurt. A truth shared, a truth spoken, a truth finally understood. And somewhere deep inside the quiet of the ER, a boy opened his eyes again, knowing his sister would be there this time. Because sometimes heroes don't wear badges, sometimes they walk on 4 paws, and sometimes they simply tell the truth that saves a life.